Welcome to the podcast where we say, buy more tools. Buy more tools. Buy more tools. Buy more tools.
Welcome to the podcast where you might develop a tool addiction.
Wah, wah. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about some of the things that you need as a homeowner in your house, just as tools that we think that you should always have, even if you're not construction-y or DIY friendly or anything like that.
And we'll tell you, should you buy it cheap or should you buy the quality one?
Hello, friends. We forgot something. We forgot to tell you who we are. This is Arlie. That's Emily. And this is Samantha. And this is How to Handyma'am. We have been in the trades for multiple years, and we learned things the hardest possible way. But now we're starting this podcast so that you don't have to.
This episode is dedicated to my bestie, Lisa. We've been best friends for more than 35 years, and having someone who's known you all of the stages of your life, all of the crazy ones and all of the hard ones, who still loves you and sees the best in you is an immeasurable gift. Okay. Are you ready for my story? I have a quick one to tell you. I've been dying to tell you since I went to Panera this morning.
You went to Panera and you didn't bring me back anything?
I went to another appointment after that. I left it early and went and ate my sandwich before I went to my 8 o'clock appointment. So,
Okay. Early.
I went to Panera this morning, and I was already excited because I was getting a Mountain Dew and my perfect sandwich. But then I was walking up to the door, and a woman was coming out, and the door was closing, but it just paused, and I was like, I bet I can make it through there.
Are you Tom Cruise?
I did a Panera Ninja, and I went, woo, woo, woo.
Why?
I did, because it was fun, and I made it through, and I was like, yeah, I made it through.
I thought this was going to be a totally different kind of story.
It's not really a story you could anticipate. It delighted me
I
so
thought you were
much.
going to say, like, my sandwich is the best sandwich I've ever had or something.
No, I mean, that's always true. But after I got through, I looked around because I was like, who can I celebrate with?
And this is why we need to go to appointments with each other.
That was? There wasn't anybody there. And then, like, I got to tell him, but I'm like, I got to wait till I'm on the podcast.
Yeah. Are we ready for our main topic today?
I'm ready. What's it going to be?
What is it?
What is it?
Do you need a drum roll?
It's our favorite tool!
Yay! I love it.
So, we're going to talk about our favorite tools and the most essential tools that you should have, like, in your house. And this is if you're a DIYer or if you're just, you own a place or you live in an apartment or, tools that we think that everybody should have or at least have access to.
The Handyman starter kit?
The Handyman starter kit, yes.
This is your virtual Handyma'am starter kit.
Yes, it is. And some tools, we'll go through them all. But we're going to play a game today.
Oh.
With...
Is there prizes? Can I win?
No.
Oh.
You can win a kiss.
You can win her Eternal Love and Admiration.
I already have that.
Not until you win the game.
All right, I'm going to try. You're going down,
Who's her favorite pearl?
Okay, so the game is cheap or quality. So I have a list of I compiled a list of all of the things that our crew thinks are like the best things to have in your tool bag or their favorite tools and some other things that I added. And we're going to go through them and talk about them and their uses. And then I'm going to ask you guys whether you guys think we should get a cheap version or a quality version.
Okay, I'm ready. Hold on.
I need to pull
I'm
it up.
scared.
I don't like to lose.
She doesn't
I know.
like to lose. Okay.
Unless you know you're not good at it, like trivia, and then you're like, this game sucks.
I'm like, I'm getting something to eat.
This has a bonus question.
Ooh.
The first one does. The first one is measuring tapes. Cheap or quality?
Wait. It depends. Is it living in the bottom of your purse or hanging out in your junk drawer tape measure or doing work?
This is a tape measure that a person has.
Cheap.
I'd say medium.
That's not an option.
You have to pick one.
I'm prejudiced. I think good tape measure.
Okay.
By which I mean it doesn't slice you up when you use it. It doesn't come back so fast it takes your eyeballs out. It doesn't bend easily.
Okay, you're just talking about estate sale tape measures right now.
Okay, sorry. I say high quality. Expensive.
Okay. I said cheap.
Oh, dang
So
it.
here's the thing. If you're using a tape measure every single day, get a good tape measure. But if you're not, if you just need it every once in a while, you don't need to spend $30 on a tape measure. That's just like outrageous. They have pretty good tape measures. You can get a 12-foot tape measure, which is all you pretty much need in your home. You don't need anything really longer. I wouldn't get one of those 6-foot ones because most ceilings in regular apartments
non-Hobbit homes.
Yeah, non-Hobbit homes are like 8 to 10 feet.
We would be just fine in 6-foot homes.
Yes, we all would be fine. My Jace would
not be fine.
have like a permanent hunchback.
Yeah,
he'd be like doing the limbo with his head all the time.
Yeah, I hope you like the movie The Hunchback of Notre Dame because you're suddenly Esmeralda. Sanctuary.
Okay, our bonus question. Our bonus question is: how many measuring tapes does a person need?
All of them. Do I win?
I think you only need one. My argument
Okay.
is that you don't want to keep switching tape measures when you're measuring because they're not all exactly the same.
Oh, she's trying to be fancy.
That's good if you're doing trim carpentry. I'd agree with that. If you're a homeowner, get 2 or 3 because the odds that you're going to lose one of them are high. The odds that you're going to lose the second one are very high. And then you have a third one that you haven't lost yet.
Potentially.
And then by the time you lose the third one,
you'll have found the first one.
the first one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd say 2 or 3.
There's another tried and true principle. If you buy a tape measure everybody hates, you will never lose it.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
True.
I have one in the bottom of my purse. I'm like, we don't have a tape measure. I have the one everybody hates in the bottom of my purse because nobody takes it.
And everyone at the end of the workday is like, here you go, Samantha. I don't want
that's
this.
Samantha's tape measure.
That's funny.
Yes.
My
This is fun.
recommendation is Menards has a great section of hand tools, and their tape measures are
Oh, yeah.
like you can get a tape measure I think for like $13 maybe. Some
and
of
they
them
have
are more
at least
expensive.
2 sizes, which is important.
Yeah.
Like if you're a homeowner, I would not recommend buying the 35-foot tape measure because they're heavy. They're just not. They don't.
Unless
and
you need a weapon.
For a woman, they're not as comfortable in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I like the
Menards has multiple sizes.
Oh, I should have brought it upstairs. It's in my car. But I have like it's pretty light and it's
I don't know why I'm yawning again. Sorry.
it's got a lifetime warranty. So it cracks or breaks or something, I just bring it into Menards. I go grab the same one, and they just swap them out. That's all. So like your, $10, $20 goes, literally forever or until they probably.
Yeah, and if you have a warranty on tools, a lot of times you have to like pack it up and send it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But here you can just walk into a Menards and walk in with a broken one and walk out with a new one.
Yeah.
I would like to say for you non-Midwest listeners, Menards is pretty much exclusive to the Midwest.
Oh, is that
so
true?
I'm sorry
Oh.
about that.
I did not know
Womp
that.
womp.
Womp womp.
But I'm sure there's other brands that do that.
There must
too.
be. We will find out for a
Yeah.
future episode.
Yeah.
All the brands that honor their tape measure
Yeah.
exchange policy.
These tools, I would say everything that we're going to talk about, look on the back of the package when you buy it and see if it has a limited warranty or a lifetime warranty or something like that. Because if it does, then it's worth getting that brand instead of another brand, because especially if it's something that, a tape measure and you're not a carpenter or you're not in the
Mhm.
field, like buy one tape measure and like as long as you can keep track of it, then you always have one and you don't have to reinvest in it. Unless like, you lose it or whatever, but
Yeah, which I would be likely to do.
yeah, but it doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. Just a run-of-the-mill tape measure. But if, another one's like $2 more and you have like that lifetime warranty, then I would go for that because, for us, we put our tape measures through a lot. So it's really worth it. And I think if you're going to spend like $10 on a tape measure, you might as well spend $12 and then have that forever and just always have it in your tool bag.
Ooh, I like this game. What's next?
This one is maybe a little controversial. A stud finder.
Quality. Emphatic. Quality.
I don't have an opinion on stud finders.
I say quality.
Do you know how many times I have found, I'm using quotation marks, a stud
Yes.
that is not a stud? It
I
is
know.
not near a stud. It might be a pipe. It might be air. It might be insulation. Somehow it's like beep, beep, beep. And then you put a screw in and it's like, nope, gotcha. It's
Yeah.
not there.
We have a deep wall
That
scanner.
one's so nice.
And when Emily got them, I was like, that's way too much for a stud finder. It was like $60.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. Because you can get a regular stud finder for $20, probably.
A good one. You can even get probably 15.
Yeah. But I was like, that's too much money. I even was like, maybe we should return some of these because I think she got 3 or 4 of them. But now we all fight over them. It was probably the best purchase we have made. They're so good. They have, I think maybe, okay. Let me just explain my passion for these deep wall scanners. First of all, they work if you have plaster and lath. You can still see the studs, which regular stud finders cannot do.
Nope.
It'll just say, there's a stud everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, because it senses the wood of the lath, which are like the little
Slat boards.
slat boards. But a deep wall scanner will find where your stud actually is. And they also tell you where the studs that have electrical are. So if you are going across your wall, it has like a little lightning bolt, I think, that will light up when you are on the electrical wires. It can sense those. And then ours also has a little measurer, I think it's like 6 inches, so every inch is marked on there. And I think the 1/2 and 1/4 inches are too. And then it has a little golf pencil that sits on the inside, which took me forever to find. But it's my favorite thing because I'll always be like, oh, there's a stud, and be like,
I think you're like reaching,
yeah,
reaching,
I'm like, I left my pencil over there. And then I
like-
have to find it again. But they have one in the back. And then it also has a little bubble on it for level. So if you're hanging up a picture or something, you might not need a torpedo level too, because it basically is one.
You have this phenomenal deep wall scanner.
Yeah.
That serves multiple purposes.
So I would say quality. I know that like if somebody's hanging like pictures and stuff, it might not be easy to afford a $60 stud finder, but if you're hanging a lot of stuff, especially things that need to be in studs, I would say get it. I mean, like I don't want anybody to feel like they can't do it without a stud finder, but
you can always start with an inexpensive one, and if you keep finding that your stud finder doesn't find your studs, because houses are built differently, and the ones on the like more entry level line are like inconsistent. So if you have
a new build, it'd probably work.
Yeah,
just
our
fine.
daughter Hannah lived in a building that had no insulation. So it was literally drywall and studs. That was all that was in the walls. So that entry-level one worked just fine. But then, like, we live in a 175-year-old house, and it's like there's a lot of stuff. There's horsehair in there. There's several layers of plaster. There's lath. There's whatever. There's car siding. Like, it's crazy.
nail nippers.
Quality.
Quality.
Okay.
And again, I'll say quality isn't necessarily expensive, but there are bad nail nippers and good nail nippers.
Okay. I said cheap because I did not realize that there could be expensive nail nippers. I've only seen
it's like a difference of
kinds.
$2.
It's not a huge amount of money, but the problem with we'll call low end nail nippers, because there's not a huge price range, but the low end nail nippers will actually, indent isn't the right word, but they don't hold the part that grabs the nail doesn't hold its shape. The nails change the shape of the nippers. So you end up with like little dents or little divots in your nail nippers, which after a while it's harder to get a good handle on nails that are hard to pull out.
I think you probably want like steel nail nippers.
I have...
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. I'm going to get up and grab these. Okay. So up until like 2 years ago when I started working here, I had no idea what nail nippers are.
They're so
and
awesome.
basically, they are the most convenient version of the fork part of your hammer. So the fork part of your hammer can be like slid underneath the heads of your nails, and then you use the handle to pry back, so you get your nails out. These you can use nails that don't have heads, like finish nails, which would probably be great for a homeowner because the amount of like nails with heads you're gonna find if you're just doing normal, like, everyday stuff are very low.
Yeah, because those are normally stuff that's buried.
Yeah, so trim, mostly, and then maybe some built-ins or whatever are going to be your traditional
Finished
nails.
Or brad nails, people sometimes call them.
Yeah. But basically, you just, like, pry onto them like a set of pliers.
Yeah, like a set of pliers.
Yeah, and you can either, like, squeeze it really tight and break it. Or what we prefer to do if we can is you squeeze it, but not all the way. And then you use this rounded edge.
Just like a hammer, you roll it back.
To roll it, and then your nail eventually comes out.
It will gently pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think these are just amazing. I just
those
love
are
them.
Pretty heavy-duty ones. I like. Yeah, like you can tell, like this part of it, you can't see if you're just listening, and that's okay. But like the handle parts of it are like nice and thick, so they hold up really well. Mm-hmm. And then you want something. I mean, theoretically, you should sharpen your tools. So you want something that has enough guts to sharpen it, so it can be used repeatedly. You don't want like single-use nail nippers.
Yeah. And once you sharpen them, they're just like
gone. Yeah, they're just like finger cutters then.
Yeah. The next one I have, I don't even need to look at my list. I remember this one, is a multi-tool. So this is probably the first saw I would tell somebody to get. I don't know if it's necessarily considered a saw. It's called an oscillating saw or a zippy, some people call it, or a multi-tool, which we have one.
I will say this is the best tool that if you don't work in the industry, you never knew existed.
Yes. And the thing about this is you can cut anything with it. And it takes a long time to cut some stuff with it. Say you need to cut 1 2x4 for something. You know, it's going to be a lot faster to cut it with a circular saw.
Any number of other saws.
Yeah.
But you can cut it with it.
Cut it with this. And you can cut, metal with it. You can cut.
Yeah, it comes. The blades are
anything.
Quick change blades.
Yeah.
You can get wood cutting blades. You can get metal cutting blades. You can get grout scraping out blades.
Yeah,
you can get flooring popping up blades. Mm-hmm. You can get sander attachment, which is
a sander attachment actually comes with this one.
Love it. Everyone I've seen comes with a sander attachment.
I love that tool so much.
It is great. It has, literally, we call it a multi-tool because it has multi-uses, but it really, really does. You can, instead of getting an oscillating saw or an oscillating sander, you can get one of these, and you can, use it for any number of things.
If you refinish furniture, that's a great sander.
Detail sanding. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this is great. It's just all around a great tool. So if you're thinking of buying an entry-level saw, I would definitely think you should get a multi-tool.
I would say after a drill, it would be the next power tool I would recommend that a homeowner buy.
Definitely.
And the thing about this that's so useful, that's like things you can cut with a jigsaw, you can cut with this. Things you can cut with a metal cutting blade on a miter saw, you can cut with this. The difference with this is you can get into lots of places that you cannot, like, especially if you're cutting something that's already installed somewhere, particularly useful. I mean, if you've got like a free piece of lumber, you're going to, can put it on the miter saw, cut it, or chop saw, as my brother called it. But this is really helpful when things are already installed somewhere and you need to cut them.
Mm-hmm. If you need to get a piece of baseboard out and you can't get the nails out, you can
cut the nails off.
If you are trying to patch a hole in your wall and you need to take out a square of drywall, you can use this.
Oh, one of my favorite uses, if you've put spray foam somewhere.
Oh, yes.
And you let it come out and cure, you can make a beautifully straight, just and with a utility knife, it's harder. You got to kind of have to hack chunks out. Yeah. But with this, you just Right
And
under it.
the blades for this are never ending. You can get regular looking wood and metal and plastic blades. You can get ones that are fanned out so that they cut like
More
wider. You can get like little scraper looking ones. If you're like scraping up something from the floor, it kind of oscillates back and forth and scrapes underneath. You can, I mean, we talked about sanders. There's grinder attachment type things.
It's so useful.
It is great for a lot
It
of
was a
things.
game changer. I remember my brother-in-law Mike was here. So we started our adventure. I think we've talked about this before, but we started our adventure in this house that we're in right now because COVID hit and we had already torn the house up and we had to do most of the repairs ourselves. So my brother-in-law Mike was here and he and Jim were working on the soffit on the front porch and I was installing trim in the bathroom around the vanity that I had just installed. Or I was preparing to install the vanity, but I needed to push the vanity all the way against the wall in order for it to not have a gap at the top. But there was baseboard at the bottom. So I'm like, but it had legs, it wasn't a square on the bottom. It had legs, so it was up off the ground. So I don't want to just take out the piece of baseboard because then it would be missing underneath and you'd be able to see that. Mm-hmm. So I went out and asked Mike, I'm like, I don't know what to do, like how to get this. And at that point, like I couldn't even imagine, like what tool would I use for that if I didn't know about a multi-tool? I was thinking I was going to have to like carve it out with a utility knife. So Mike just reaches into his bag and he's like, this is what you want? It's a multi-tool. And I'm like, how does that work? And he showed me and it was life-changing.
Yeah, it's great.
It's amazing.
It's
I was
great
just
for
like,
a lot of things.
Leg size, push it in. Perfect.
All right, and then the last thing
what is
that
it?
is absolutely essential if you have any power tools at all, ear protection.
Oh.
And let me ask, ear protection, cheaper quality?
cheap.
I
Because
hate
you
to,
can
like-
use the cheapo earplugs and they are rated for that.
I will say, for me, the ones I put in my ears, something is wrong with my ears. They don't stay in. So I like the ones that go over my ears.
Yeah. This is probably like a personal thing. I say quality. I've used many different types of ear protection. I've used like brand name, like construction ones. I've used those earplugs, but the ones I really, really like that can really protect my ears and help me get through the day with some sanity is like shooting ear protection.
Yeah, they have the highest rating of ear protection.
And normally, I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons. I mean, like vacuums, when I have ear protection on, I am so much more like not bothered by this constant sound of like vacuuming. And then the tile saw is loud and sometimes I have to spend a lot of time right next to it. The multi-tool, oscillating sander, so many different things. Sometimes even the impact drill when you're using it a lot.
That one I especially need ear protection for. Because I think it will like ratchet up my nervous system. Like the longer that I use things without ear protection, it's just like, and eventually it's like, So it's ear protection and it's also sanity protection.
Yeah. I like to just put my headphones in, with, like my AirPods or whatever, with a podcast or something, and then I put my ear protection over it, and there's like a serenity.
There is.
It's like when you're in a little bubble as like a storm is raging outside. You're just like da 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 da, and it helps a lot of times when I get very frustrated because I've been like at the tile saw for 17 years trying to cut this piece of something forever. It is really nice. Plus, you know, you might be like, I don't need one, but if you have something going for a while and then you turn it off and you're kind of like, ugh, you feel kind of weird. It's because you need ear protection.
Yeah.
You're exposing your ears to too much noise, and it's a frequency that isn't appropriate for your brain, and you just don't want to jingle your brain up.
It happens faster than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was one time, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when I was like, I was thinking the noise doesn't bother me. That was my approach. Like, it didn't, in the beginning, I was like, it's loud, it's fine, it doesn't bother me. But then after a while, I was like, there's a ringing in my ear. And I was like, have I ruined my hearing? And I was like, I will go insane with this ringing in my ear. And sometimes, and luckily for me, it was temporary, but sometimes that happens and it's permanent.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, homeowners might think, I only do this every now and then. But traumatic ear injury can happen with repetition, or it can happen with just the wrong combination of frequency and decibel level. So that's an important one.
That was my last one. If you have any tools and if you're doing anything, really look into the PPE that you need. It's important for a lot of different reasons, but we got one body, and we have, generations of men before us that have not used protection.
That uncle with half of his fingers missing?
Yeah.
Everybody has one.
Or, your grandpa that had concrete lung, or somebody who can't hear anymore, or, has one eye, or can't really use their eyes that well, or whatever it might be. It's just safer just to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like a small amount of inconvenience for just keeping your life the way that it is,
If you have questions about these tools or tools that we haven't talked about, so do other people. So if you just snap a picture of that tool and put it on the How to Handyma'am Facebook group and be like, what is this tool for? Or can I use this tool for this application? We can give you very specific guidance on that. And other people will be like, I wondered what that thing was that's in the garage. Other people will have the same questions. Or we can even talk about, and here's the safety equipment with that particular tool. Like a lot of people think gloves are great. Gloves are great. Well, if you're using a blade that spins, you should not be wearing gloves. Yeah, so just knowing, just little things like that, knowing what's appropriate.
Yeah. And, when in doubt, look it up. We have lots of answers to questions, but the information is out there if you're desperately looking for something. And it is just better to be safe than anything else. I have definitely learned that over and over and over and over and over again. Cutting myself and, knocking my head on something, or getting stuff in my eye, or whatever it might be.
It's just not worth it. A moment can change your life.
Yeah, or multiple days of my head hurting and my ears ringing because
you're like, why do I have a migraine?
Yeah, because I wasn't. Or sometimes my ears, the inside of my ears, physically hurt.
Yeah,
it's almost like they're exhausted from all of the noise and stuff, and that gets hard. And it was really a game changer when I got those shooting headphones, because it took it from it was a 10, and then with the regular ones, the construction graded ones, those were took it down to a 7, but those other ones took it to a 2. Yeah. And it's the noise.
So for those of you that are maybe just getting into the field, that's one thing that would make sense to invest in.
Yeah, they're also a lot slimmer than the other ones.
They are, yeah. I will say, kind of as a follow-up to all of the things that we've just talked about, that I don't remember what I was going to say. No, I was going to say, so we're, if you can't tell, we're passionate about education, and we have trouble reining it in, but that's just because we're so excited about teaching, and the purpose of this podcast, this is the gateway drug for us, because we want to be able to bring in-person education to women, and the podcast is our vehicle to get us started. So if you love that and you also want it to happen, then you can help us by helping to spread the word about the podcast. And you can find us anywhere at My Handyma'am if you want to see us doing cool things for customers. And you can find us at How to Handyma'am if you want to see us show you how to do cool things for yourself.
Yay!
Yeah.
We love you.
We love you.
I love you. Mwah, mwah.